it's a weird obsession. It's a problem. Good morning, YouTube gang. What's happening? Rio from Reselling. This morning we're up, headed to the flea market to see what we can find, see what kind of treasures we can find. I want you guys to ride along with me, see if I find anything special. I realized that and while I'm in the car, that's when I have a lot of time to talk about, you know, everything really. I get time to myself, no kids around. I'm able to kind of just zone out. So this is the best time to create videos. So this will be my car chronicles. So don't get distracted by everything in the background. I wanted to talk about how I started reselling and why I started reselling online. So back in 2024, I had an idea to have a big and tall consignment shop. I'm a big guy. There was nowhere to get clothes. I mean, I didn't always want to go to DXL to get clothes because they're overly priced, right? You're paying top dollar at a DXL. I didn't want to do that. And I'm too cheap to do that. And sometimes Goodwill just didn't have anything, or you had to really, you know, if you found something at a Goodwill or anything like that, it was a once in a lifetime thing. So I tried to provide an option in the marketplace that was needed. So I said, I'm going to do it. So 2024, I kind of stepped out on faith and was like, okay, I need to create a consignment shop where big and tall people can shop, right? So I created a website, all that. The website, I created one, but it wasn't hitting like that, right? It was because then you got to get the traffic to the website. So it was like, well, I got it. I got the online, and I was opposed to paying any type of fees or anything like that. So I ended up creating a website, and then I was like, okay, I kind of need some sales. I got all this inventory. I've been saving all this inventory for this day. I got all this inventory. Now I need to get the name out there. So I started doing vendor events. They charge you $100, $200 to come and set up, but my setup was a little rigorous because if I had 150 clothes, I would take racks out, like the steel racks, set the steel racks up. One of the events I did, I mean, it was set up now. I did that. It was great, right? But it took a lot of setup time and a lot of breakdown time because every piece of clothing was on a hanger, and every piece of clothing had to, I had to gather all the clothes up, load them in my car, and get them over to the venue. Then I had to set up the racks. Then I had to take each pair of clothes out. And then the problem is, if the event that day, the vendor event, wasn't on concrete or like a street or a sidewalk, the problem is trying to roll racks on the grass thing that wasn't flat. It was torture to me. And trying to get my racks over to the space where the vendors were. I tried maybe like 4 different vendor events. Some of them worked, right? But none of them were astronomical. I tried them out just to see, just to get an idea of my niche, right? I'm like, I got this, I have great inventory, so now I just need to be in people's face. But I also realized that I had to be honest with myself when it came to the physicality of it all. Packing it up the night before, like I had to pack it all up the night before, and that consisted of grouping hangers together, zip tying them, putting bags over them so to keep the dust off or keeping the clothes from getting dirty. Then taking that group of hangers and laying it down nicely in my car. It was a lot of work. And not saying that I'm opposed to work, but it just took a lot of time. And I didn't realize how much time it took until until a few months later. But neither here nor there. So I tried vendor events. That wasn't my gist. It was just too much. So then I ended up being at a flea market in North Carolina. So I tried flea markets. Some flea markets are better than others. We all know that, right? So I ended up going to Webb Road Flea Market, which is in Salisbury. The beauty of it is the back row has, it's a covered like shelter thing. And I think it was like $28 a day or $32 a day. So that worked for a few months, maybe a month or two, until it got cold. It worked. I was able to, I had a display wall. I had it set up where I could show all of my items. It was functional until it got cold. Woo-hoo! Some of those 20-degree mornings were freezing. And you were outside under the cover. You weren't getting any sun, so it was freezing. And I pretty much found out I wasn't cut for that. Not to mention, it took up every weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday, I would go, and of course, the wife can only deal with so much of that, right? And I, as an entrepreneur, have to be thoughtful of everybody in the situation. Because even though, you know, the wife and kids may not do anything physical, with the business, you got to think of, okay, you got a family and you need to spend time with that family. Because at the flea market, you got to get out there really early, like 6 a.m. Sometimes you're getting ready, start getting ready at 5 just to be there by 7. And you're out there till about 3 or 4 p.m. So the entire day is gone, right? The entire day is gone. You have really, I mean, you've been hustling. You're in the moment, you aren't thinking about it because you're trying to make a buck. You know, we like to keep that energy up, baby. If we making a daggone buck, it's okay. We trying to make a buck. So you start thinking about all of that stuff. So I was like, well, it's cold. I'm losing time. I got to come up with something else. So then one day I was like, you know what? I got all this inventory. I got a phone. I already had tables. So I was like, well, why don't I just try this eBay thing and see if I can understand all the fees or whatnot. And from there, I took my first picture of, I think, of maybe about 20 items. I just kind of perfected really taking pictures. I just said, you know what? I'm gonna take some pictures. I'll tell you a funny story. The first time I took pictures, they were on the floor. I had a gym upstairs in my office, and I had like a black rubber mat. And not knowing, I'm like, ooh, a black rubber mat, that's a solid background. Everything looks good on black, dummy. But I was like, well, let me do that. So I took some pictures on this black mat, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm cooking now. Until I had dark color clothes. Who knew, right? That's me being green and not realizing, hey, you're gonna need something that's a little neutral, but not knowing. So I took my few pictures, then I posted them, and I mean, within maybe like 2 to 3 days, I got my first sale. I was so happy. I mean, I was just ecstatic, right? I was like, oh my gosh, I got a sale. So then I kind of fell in love with it low key and started to figure out how I can improve, how I can add to my photos, meaning make them look better. How can I make them more presentable? So I started looking at other people's stores, started seeing how other people were doing it. I started, you can YouTube everything. So I started YouTubing how to display photos better, how to make my store look better, or key points, I had to start just doing research, because before I jumped in, I didn't do the research. So I got my first few items were pretty jacked up. If you look at the photos, you'll see how far I came. But my first few items, I mean, I didn't have measurements on clothes. I thought I could just take a picture of the front and back and the size and the tag, and that's all I needed. And I found out that, well, you need a little bit more for the consumer when they're buying stuff online. So it was a wake-up call, but a great learning lesson, right? It's how I've evolved as a seller. It turned out good because one of the biggest things that's underrated at eBay is you start where you start from. There's no starting point. There's no goal starting point. You start wherever you start from, and then you grow from that point. So whether you know it or not. So that led me to understanding more about the preferences on the shipping and the receiving, and the understanding returns, understanding all that stuff. So I say all this to say, don't hesitate on just getting started. You will not be perfect. Yeah, you're gonna mess up on a few items. It may take a moment to make that first sale. But if anything, I think it's more about just becoming better every day at what you're doing. Trying to post something every day. Just get into the habit. Build a habit of posting a new item every day. Get your inventory up. And when I say get your inventory up, buy things that people want. I used to buy the things that I liked. But that's a whole nother story. I got a whole bunch, the stories. But that is how I started, really. That's how I started. That's how I got into this thing called reselling, and I've just been hooked. eBay is, it's definitely added to my life. And a lot of times we got to think about what's our why. And my why is because I really love doing it. I don't know if it's could be a little shopping addiction maybe. I don't know, but I'm able to turn that into buying something really low and flipping it really 2, 3, 4 times. So I don't know if that's an addiction, or I don't know if it's me just being addicted to that book. I don't know what it is, but dadgummit, I'm trying every minute to figure out how I can make that dollar work 3, 4 times. Or flip 3 or 4 times. It's a weird obsession. It's a problem. and I know my wife. But she knows her husband, right? And it's like, but honey, if I can turn this $1 into $6 or $7, where's the problem, right? Why is there an issue? So, yeah, it's something. But Anyways, so that's my story of how I got started. This is Car Chronicles. It's what I do.